Hello guys, welcome to my chess channel, and today I will show you the game played between Nepominiachi and Firouzja. So let's start. The game started with b3 by Nepo, e5 by Firouzja, bishop to b2, and now knight to c6. So this is Nimzowitsch-Larsen attack. So the general idea here for white is to attack on the king side by playing, for example, moves like here e3, later on f4, and so knight to e2, and to try and prepare something maybe with c4, or maybe play bishop to b5 first. So the general idea for white is to attack on the king side, and black will try to defend that. So anyway, that's how the game went, but just with little different move orders. So here it was knight to f3, d6, d4, e4. So this is not typical, but here it was d5 played by Nepo. So this was not a standard time control, it was blitz. So that's why here the game went like this. So here actually Firouzja took the knight there on took the knight on f3, and Nepo decided to take back. But actually the game could have went like this: knight from c to e7, and after that, well, it could be knight to g5, like this, e3. So yeah, this doesn't look so good for white, because he will have to answer on some way. So he will maybe play f takes on e3, but in that case knight to f5 looks pretty strong. So that's why Nepo didn't want to go into those kind of consequences. So that's why he changed a bit the move order. So let's go again back to the game. The game went on like this. So okay, so it was this move order, and now it was d5, and actually here he decided to take this. Again Nepo took the knight. Here b takes c, g takes. Why did he take with the g pawn? Because if he took with e pawn, he wouldn't have this rook to g1 move aiming down on this g7 square, which would be very good and beneficial for white. So that is why he took with the g pawn. So, and after that it was knight to f6, trying to develop his pieces, and now queen to d4. Actually, you see how white is aiming down at this g7 square, and after that, well, bishop to e6 was played, rook to g1 as I mentioned, but here now black is not able to castle because his bishop is obviously on f8, so this will cause him a lot of trouble. So now it was here c5, trying to discourage the white queen, and now very good move, queen to a4, trying to move this bishop out of this e file. So you will see later on why, because that file is very useful when you see this rook on g1 and the bishop on b2. So next move was here knight to d7, which obviously doesn't look so good. I mean, this knight is moved twice, and here still black cannot castle. So yeah, the next move was here, just developing. So knight to c3, pretty common and standard move. That knight can go later on to e4, g5, and that will cause a lot of trouble for black. So anyway, it was here moving the rook there to g8. So kind of necessary move to make by looking at black's position. And here white played, as I mentioned, knight to e4, trying to go to g5 square and try to make some pressure on the king side and to destroy black's position. And here it was f6. Well, you see black is developing again. Now black is not developing a piece, so he moves the pawn and this bishop gets blocked. So yeah, completely terrible position for black. So instead of that, bishop to e7 would be better. I mean, yeah, obviously this pawn on g7 will fall, but yeah, that would be like this. So we will analyze this. So it would be like, yeah, for example, like bishop to e7, or yeah, maybe now taking here would be maybe beneficial. So let's calculate this. So here taking there would be beneficial, taking like this, and you see here, I mean, black is he is a pawn down and his king is in the center. So yeah, anyway, black's position is very bad. But let's get back to the game. And here you see f6 was played. So yeah, pretty desperate move, and now simply e3, trying to develop the bishop to b5, maybe a6, b7 to try to move this rook, to try to create even more threats. And now very desperate move, king to f7. You see his bishop is very bad there on f8. The king is in some kind of castle, but it's not really, he hasn't really castled yet. So yeah, white normally castles here, the long side. So, and the next move was knight to b6. Okay, so black is trying to consolidate his position and to try and not lose the game by not playing. And here it was very nice move, queen to a5. Why was queen to a5 played? Because very common strategy that you will see is when black bishop is aiming at the black pawns. Well, it's like it's like that bishop is not really there, so he is not really doing much of a things. And you see now white will try to take advantage of the white squares there. And let's move on to the next one. It was queen to e7. Okay, so queen to e7. Well, yeah, he will maybe try to play here d5 and to try to, develop his position. But very nice move, bishop to b5 was played. Bishop to b5, and here, well, d5 could have been played. So let's see how would that turn out. So d5, knight to c3, and here after that, well, he would have to defend this because there is a threat of bishop to c6. So yeah, probably the best way to defend that would be by maybe maybe queen to d6, because if you play rook to d8, well, let's see how would that turn out. So rook to d8, and then later on would be like h4, and try to attack the weak position of a black king in any way. Or maybe he could just simply play like bishop to c6, and here white can play also queen takes on h7, because actually there is no threat of this rook doing something to the queen, because for example after this move, well, queen to b7, and you see here the bishop, everything, this position looks pretty scary, but actually he cannot play the bishop there to c8. Why? Because after, I will show you now how this looks like. Here, queen to c6. Very nicely placed queen, defending everything and taking care of everything. So after this, well, if he played like something like bishop to d7 to try to get his queen somehow, well, this pawn is falling. So yeah, actually there is no way of defending everything there, because as I mentioned, black's position is completely hopeless. But let's get back to the game. And now we have a nice move, bishop to b5. After this move, well, we mentioned what would happen if the black played d5. Instead of that, it was h6, and now here bishop to c6, trying to penetrate into the black position even more. And now queen to d8 was played. Queen takes on a7. Now there is that move of d5, knight to c3, queen to d6, bishop to b7, very nicely placed bishop there, and now bishop to e7. You see that move, bishop to e7, should have been played about 10 moves earlier in the game, or 15, but it was played now, and now there are the consequences of that. So here knight to b5 would be pretty strong, but this is blitz, so here Nepo played queen to a6, c4, knight to b5, queen takes on h2, knight to d4, very nice move, queen takes on f2, okay, so he's trying to put up some counterplay, and now here actually Nepo played here e4, so yeah, this is solid move, but here in this position king to b1 was better, so I will now tell you why. So after that it was here bishop to c8, Nepo took, Firouzja took, and now actually after this move, well, Nepo decided to take this pawn on d5, and now it was rook to a8, queen to b7, and now I will give you 5 seconds, or you can pause the video to try and find how black could have really saved the position, or maybe even win a game. So 5 seconds starts now. Okay, for those of you who found the move, congratulations, and for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, the move is c3. Why c3? Because if he takes the pawn there by bishop, there goes queen to e3, and now actually there is no way to defend that bishop, because after king to b2 there comes bishop to a6 and to a3, excuse me, and after here the rook, for example, so he will just normally take the bishop. So actually there is no good way to defend here everything. Yeah, now the best move would be actually to play king to b1, but the bishop is lost, and yeah, there are some pretty strong threats there, so that was not the best way to play this. And instead of that, if he played the bishop there, so for example if he played the bishop to a1, that would be a very bad move. So now I can give you again 5 seconds to find this beautiful move and the winning combination for black. Okay, for those of you who found the move, congratulations, and for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, the move is knight to c4. Yeah, knight to c4, a really nice move. Why? Because obviously he cannot, so white cannot take this. Why? Because after this there goes rook from g to b8, and now there are all kinds of threats. So here the bishop is coming to a3 with deadly checkmate, and now, well, white is pretty much forced to take the rook, and after that lose the game. But instead of that, what happens if for example if the black took the pawn on c3? Well, that would be pretty bad, because again we have queen to e3, and after that king to b1, and here there is that move queen takes on c3, and this is game over for white. So the best move here was actually to play after this, to play here was the best move to play here was king to b1. Actually, if he takes c takes b2, well, d6 could have been played here because there are no concrete threats, and now after bishop takes there, well, queen to e4, well, yeah, queen to e4, and now, yeah, white is in a driver's seat, but there is no concrete way how to win this, because there are moves like bishop to e5, and I guess that white would win this game because it's a blitz tournament. And yeah, there are actually some pretty strong threats. So, for example, like queen to g6. After that, knight to f5. But yeah, that would be the way. Of course, white would have to find this beautiful king to b1 move and to try and not lose the game. But let's get back to the game. Actually, here instead of c3, well, Firouzja played bishop to d6, and he tried to consolidate the position, but yeah, it's too late now for that, because here knight to f5 is a really strong knight, threatening all kinds of discoveries and mating attacks. So after that it was bishop to f4. Now that is actually improving white's position, because after king to b1, well, it is game over practically for black. So it was here rook takes, and now pretty good, pretty nice move, queen to c6, threatening checkmate, and here white is practically winning, so there were only a few more moves. Yeah, black tried to take the bishop, yeah, the king took the rook, it was bishop to e5, king to b1, and yeah, he resigned because there were all kinds of discoveries here. For example, like queen to e6, yeah, that would be checkmate in 2, and yeah, that was the game is pretty much over. Here black could have continued like bishop to d6, but yeah, this is losing pretty much to this. Knight takes bishop, pawn takes, and now yeah, there was queen to c7, and after that, well, there is simply rook from d to e1, threatening checkmate, and this is game over for black. So yeah, this was a pretty exciting game. And guys, thank you again for watching this video. I hope you learned something from it, and goodbye. Take care.